lovely fall morning in Montreal. But we are not focused on what is going on outside. It's in there that we will be paying attention to. Qualifying day number 2 on weekend number 2 of the ISU Short Track World Tour, the second edition of the circuit. Hi everybody, Gavin Day here. Alongside me, Tyler Darrow. We made it through one qualifying day yesterday, and we have another one coming up. Of course, more skaters trying to get those coveted Olympic berths, taking place over 4 weekends this month and next. After this weekend, we are in a bit of a hiatus for, well, close to a month, and then we will reconvene in Gdansk in Poland, and then the following weekend back to the Netherlands to Dordrecht for the curtain dropper on the second ISU Short Track World Tour. It's a shorter season, 4 events, and that is, of course, because those Olympic Games in Milano Cortina. The lights come up. You'll see our schedule in just a little bit. It is sort of event, flood for the first little bit. We won't really have back-to-back events for a little bit, but another day, full day with you. Thank you so much for joining us. All getting prepped for this weekend's repechage and World Tour events, when of course the medals are handed out. I'll bring in Tyler now. Now Tyler, it's just going to be another long day, but you know, there are certainly worse things we could do.
Yeah, another long day of racing. As you touched on, Gavin, still very, very important racing for these skaters and a lot of those fans and friends and family watching in support of those athletes. So very meaningful racing during this second qualifying day of the Short Track World Tour. So lots of great skating to come before us today as we move towards the main World Tour events on Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, as you've always mentioned, Gavin, reach out if there's anything you want to know, or if we're mispronouncing names, you know.
We always do appreciate corrections. We love stories, stuff that we can share about athletes that, of course, they would be okay with sharing themselves. And yeah, so here we go. First event is the men's 1,000-meter prelims. We'll swap to the women's 500-meter prelims after the first flood. After that flood, we go back to this event for the men's 1,000-meter heats. And so the 1,000-meter prelims has 15 heats. First skater from each race, and up to 5 fastest second-place skaters qualifying for the heats. And first one on the ice is Miyata Shogo. He didn't have the best weekend in the 1,000 meters, which is why he's got to go through this whole process. There is a look not often we would see. Helmet number 5, finishing 5th overall in World Tour, having to go through this early in the game, but he is back ready to right some wrongs from a week ago. New entrant for the U.S., Seungmin Kwon. So here is, that's Rostislav Leontenko of the Ukrainian Wildcats. Łukasz Kuczynski is here, as is Lai Tsai Huan Chen of the Chinese Taipei Blue Magpies.
Go to the start. Ready.
Tiny margin. We did see a lot of clean skating yesterday, so those 5 second place times may come into play, but
15 heats, it's a lot of races. And I was actually initially going to kind of come out with a thought that I thought they may go a little bit slower because they'll really just be focusing on that first position. However, Miyata Shogo is not wasting any time getting this pace going. I think perhaps he wants to challenge the other skaters, make them work a little bit harder, try to create some separation and not leave anything to chance at the end of the race. But as I say that, we have Sungmin Kwan of the Eagles putting some work in out of the front. There's a bit of a gap there. We'll watch to see if Shogo accelerates into that, kind of transitions it into a pass. Still that gap there.
Sungmin Kwan, 22 years old, originally born in Daejeon in Korea, now living in Rockville, Maryland. Of course, that U.S. player really based in Utah. Miyata goes back to the front.
Well, there you can see as Miyata closed the gap, he turned that into a pass, but this pace is high. We got DeBell now.
Łukasz Kuczynski trying to scrap his way up there.
You can see the struggle in the legs.
And it is Miyata avoiding the banana peel of this race and just skating away. The man will be 23 in January.
Well, it's really interesting because, as I mentioned, Gavin, I thought it'd be a little bit more focus on the race and just the race win rather than the time. But this first heat comes out and puts down a 125.5 for Miyata Shogo, and Kuczynski's skating a 125.85. That's a quick heat. I think usually on the second morning, skaters are maybe a little bit more relaxed. They're not wanting to get hard to work right away, but this heat just kind of set the standard. It'll be interesting to see how the other races respond to that, if they're paying attention, and then it kind of gets going in their minds. All right, this might go a little bit harder than I was anticipating. Kuczynski here on the outside, you can see the struggle. The legs are just concrete, trying to get to that finish line, secure that time. He'll be waiting, but that's a quick one. If we do get some times, I think that one could very well stand if we don't get all these advancements.
You've mentioned before about the perhaps benefits of going in one of those last heats. You know what times are ahead of you, but that's a gauntlet thrown down right there by Łukasz Kuczynski in that 125.859. And that will bring out heat number 2. And I'll have Thomas Natalini, Nurtalek Kajgali, Frederick Pedersen, Daniel Abog, and Tibor Komarichki.
Well, I'll be interested to see Natalini's plan here. It may be that of Shogo, where he wants to get out front and just to control the race and kind of push the speed so that he's not getting too many challenges and not leaving anything to chance. But at the same time, he's a very capable passer, and we've seen him do that before, is just stay calm, stay relaxed, be patient, and then strike late in the race. So it'll be one or the other.
Go
Or
to the
something
start.
completely different.
Cover all my bases there.
Ready.
Natalini in the Azzurri kit, the one to watch.
5 skaters in the
That's
second
Frederick
preliminary
Pedersen
race.
picking up the mantle here early. Natalini, 23, out of Trento in northern Italy. A lot of the Italian skaters are from the north. Bormio, their training base. That venue in Milano, sort of outside of the city center. Of course, visited last year on World Tour. That's right next to a highway, right across from a mall, but it's right on the transit line that ferry you right into downtown Milan. Interesting venue. Sort of can get lost quite easily. So if you're going, be warned.
In the short track venue.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there is also.
Here's Natalini. Sorry, he went with the patient strategy of waiting to strike and later in the race. So I wasn't sure what she'd go with, but now we see him working on that outside to take the lead.
Yeah, but there's also other rinks. We saw figure skating going on there. There was a bowling alley in there.
There's a swimming pool, a gym.
There was all kinds of stuff in there.
Basketball court. Yeah, quite the facility.
And Natalini now just turning on the afterburners.
Rybog up the inside. Tight little maneuver there.
For him, it will be Natalini
He's the unofficial winner of this.
shifting down and taking that one at 129.7, 1-0 for Natalini. And so big gulf between the first heat and comparing the time.
No, those early laps. It's really those first 3 laps. If you get the pace going or not, is all the difference. They're all finishing fast, but if you just give up those critical 4 seconds in the first 2 laps, it's already beyond reach. And And Natalini, I like the strategy there of being patient. It's a little bit, you know, more risky because you do have to make that outside pass, as we see here, and hope that there's no conflicts or contacts inside of you that could create a scenario in which you get taken out. However, Natalini's got, you know, he's got eyes on that A final of the World Tour, so that's a lot of racing when you have to start the prelims to go through. So kind of trying to manage your energy expenditure over the weekend and expend as, you know, as minimal as possible to stay fresh for the later rounds.
Able to shut it down a little bit. And there you have it.
Well,
now it shows self-confidence too, knowing I feel I can take this. Oh, this is my strategy, and then executing.
Absolutely, and you see the stronger skaters being more patient because they have more confidence, and that's something that we talked with Michael Gilday about, how valuable that confidence is, and you really have to gain that, and you have to have that self-belief, and some athletes are just better at having that belief, and some athletes really have to work at it to gain it.
Heat number 3, the McAnuff clan making their way up from Oakville. For that man, representing the Irish Wolfhounds, also here Clayton DiClemente, Yaroslav Morozov, Clavia Jagal, and Rio Ong.
Go to the starter. Ready.
So talking about Milan, my little bit of advice is something that Gavin and I did is try to go see Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper mural at the church in Milan. And you have to book early in advance. So if you're planning a trip to Milan for the games, oh, and down goes that.
Morozov goes down.
Morozov, yeah.
Just on his own.
If you're planning to go, book your ticket early in advance. I think we were about 2.5 months in advance to get ours.
You spotted that one.
It can't be last minute there.
Especially with so many people going, it's going to be busy.
You might be having to book now.
Yeah, and they limit the amount of people who go through. So I'm not much of a planner when I go. I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. But if you are doing that next summer, pretty much anything, if you're going to Milan in summer, in February, plan, get on it. And also, I remember Pietro Siegel saying his mother would like some tickets. They're a hot ticket, and if a mother of a short track speed skater is struggling to get tickets, I imagine you will be too.
Well, Sean McAnuff just trying to keep in touch with Clayton DiClemente here. It's a pretty good pace. It's still off of the first race that we saw.
Good skate from Rio Ong too. The Singapore Gazelle closing up on McAnuff, and DiClemente takes it. McAnuff a 127.62, so that is quicker than heat number 2.
So I was talking in the previous race about the two strategy approaches that Natalini may take. He may choose to be patient, wait for the outside pass, or he may go to the front pull. We see Clayton DiClemente there going with the opposing strategy from Natalini, opting to go to the front of that race, try to stay out of trouble, just push the pace, stay clear up front, but it does take a little bit more work to do that.
Getting up into third there, and I think Morozov went down on his own.
I think this might be the replay of it. Oh, he catches the block there, left foot on the block, just lifts you. I don't know if anybody follows Olivier Jean, but he always does some interesting videos, and he says, you know, for these skaters, you do thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of laps on the track, and the blocks are always going to be there. Make that something that you work on to be cognizant of, not hitting a block to take you out of a race. You know, it's one of those things where it's just a slight error that just eliminates you.
Olivier Jean, Canadian coach, former Canadian team member in both short and long track. He
Olympic gold medalist in the relay in Vancouver.
That too.
World champion 500 meter in short track.
Oh, you're making him blush.
Also mass start long track. I believe world champion medalist. I'm trying to remember which color.
I just remember he made the switch to long track, and yeah, it was in the mass start, which makes sense. We're seeing a lot of former short trackers doing the mass start.
Well, Olivier is a tactical specialist, and that's really much his role with the Canadian team is tactics and strategy and training methodology. So very attuned to that.
As the other Wolfhound, Liam O'Brien. That is Robin Bendig of the German Wolves also in this heat. Felix Pigeon is really the seeded skater. Ernestus Czech the Lithuanian Bison, and Asen
Go
of
to the
the
start.
Kings.
Ready.
Fourth preliminary race is underway. Behind the calendar, la Pologne Felix Dijon. Wearing number 92, representing the German Wolves, Robin Bendig. 103, representing the Irish Wolfhounds, is Liam
one.
O'Brien.
Not a ton of hustle in this one.
Bison, Ernestus Czech. And at
Playing
number
the tactical game. O'Brien tries to
representing
dive
the
up the
Bulgarian
inside. He
Wolves,
was there.
sitting in second
Smartly
position
opts to
is Asen Gyorov.
try again. We're watching Pigeon. Looks like he's playing the waiting game here too.
Well, you know, we talked about that race from Miyata Shogo, setting kind of the bar for what the speed might be required. It can have the reverse effect too, in which it discourages people from thinking, okay, well, these races are going to be quick. I'm going to think it's probably going to come down more to the time if I don't want to go pull and put the effort in out front. As Pigeon makes his way around the outside.
He makes his sojourn forward. Bendig behind him. Pigeon now amping up the speed. Inviting anyone who can come with him to do that. So far, nobody's answering. A good move by O'Brien to get up into third. Now he's eyeing Bendig.
Oh, this is going to be the slowest race so far.
Real battle for second though. 3 skaters queuing up for it, but Felix Pigeon,
also in the fight.
patience pays off once again.
And that's when you know you have someone in your race that, you know, you have to be realistic with yourself and what your abilities are and where you stand amongst the other skaters, and identifying, okay, I think this, being honest, this skater is stronger, which is sometimes not the most confident approach to it, but it does change your strategy and saying, okay, well then if I want to go through, I expect him to win, so I have to put in that work to get the speed going so I can try to secure that second place time.
And that one in this heat is Robin Bendig with 1:34.863, as Tyler pointed out. Not hugely quick. In the grand scheme of things.
No, it's certainly on the slower side. We've seen races where, you know, Kreuzberg's pulls start to finish 123, so they're going over 10 seconds slower, which, you know, a lap out here in short track at top speed is in that mid 8-second range, and at max speed, you know, 8.0 seconds. So over a lap behind.
Result confirmed there. And on the subject of Rainis Beresins, one of his Robert Kreuzberg's one of his teammates is in heat number 5, Rainis Beresins, the Golden Star. Peter Yasapati, Ben Jung, Lin Chun Che, and Monk Erden Bileg. Beresins, the right skater, the seated skater in this one. Got himself into a semifinal in the 1500s yesterday, so we'll see him on the weekend, we know for sure, in the World Tour session.
Well, this is when the races start to get tighter and tighter as we go through these heats, and this is one where, you know, Peter Yashapati and Rainis Beresins are the, you know, the top seeded skaters, but they could really throw down against each other here, so it could create some fireworks. We saw some good skating from Ben Jung yesterday.
Lots to watch for in heat number 5.
Go to the start. Ready.
And it is Yasapati off to the front, the man from Siged.
Well, I think Yashapati's doing sort of what I was talking about earlier, identifying that this race is a challenge, so getting the speed going. 12.3 starting lap, that's solid. We want to see this probably a low 10, sub 10, 9.6. All right, so we're already off to a quick pace here. This one will be a good time, I expect, if they continue this. Beresins taking a little bump from behind from Lin.
Able to get back into stride, and it's, yeah, 5 guys all line astern and going for it.
Well, Yashapati will likely be anticipating an attack from Rainey's Berzins, which he'll want to jump onto the back of him and look for openings later in the race. If he can't defend it from the start all the way, as we come upon 3 laps to go. And here's the attack from Berzins. Yashapati's going to want to be right on that. But Ben Jung now, looking up the inside, it's not there.
And the gap has spread out. It's 3 skaters that will win. Not looking like he has the legs to keep up. He won't stop fighting though. It is Berzins and Yasapati. Jung struggling to stay on. And it will come down to Rainis Berzins taking this one ahead of Peter Yasapati.
Unofficially moving on,
26,
4-4.
That is the second fastest second place time.
Well, it's a calculated race from Peter Yashapati to know that he's going to have to put in some work early, make it a little bit tougher on himself, but that's going to be the best way to secure his advancement to the next round. So now, though, still 10 races remaining, no advancements yet. So I do suspect that there will be a few times being utilized here. And as we mentioned, Gavin, a lot of skaters a little bit, more precautionary, not trying to take early penalties to be eliminated from the distance.
Skaters being less cavalier, since of course a penalty would knock them right out, and at the preliminary stage, that would be very detrimental to the Olympic qualification hopes. There it is, Berzins. Yasapati, 1-2-6-4-2-3. Heat number 6 for Kanakar, Lucas Henry Koo, Ivan Donchev, Martin Prantel, and Peter Riches. The Maverick man himself. There he is.
Well, Lucas Henry Koo really showing that he's one of these young skaters to watch for. Getting into the mix of things, we saw some strong racing from him yesterday.
Hard crash as well,
Hard crash as well. Hopefully he's feeling just fine from that, but there's also the closing speed of Kanakar, who can really mix things up.
I'm sure he might be happier if with a slower start, but we'll see how things unfold.
Go to the start. Ready.
A lot of this Turkish program, Erzurum, in eastern Turkey, the winter sports hub of the country.
Is off. And 5 skaters, number 31,
on the
representing
front.
Turkish Anatolian bars for Kanakar.
Well, we want to see this again. This is kind of a page out of the Yashapati's book from the previous race. Quicker start, 12-4, going sub-9. It's a little bit off that pace that we saw previously, but still will be one of the quicker times so far today. So I think Lucas Henry Koo is kind of understanding that Kanakar is a very strong skater, that he might have to put some work in to qualify through, and doing just that.
Perhaps the time in this one is
Sitting in third
Riches up into 4th.
from the Bavarian Kings. First skater now in 4th.
Kanakar being patient here. We saw 3 laps to go, now making a move as Donchev had moved up into 2nd position. Nice outside-inside transition from Kanakar there.
Kanakar taking control of this one, 1 to go. He mentioned his top finishing speed. Looks like he will grab this one. Koo in 2nd, and Riches jumping up into 3rd, trying to push it late. Did not have it. So a car's time of 1:27.71. That'll be, whoops.
Koo and a car just kind of clipping blades there after the finish, and
that will go to a review. No, just kidding.
well, they were moving at a really good pace, but it was kind of in the midsection of the race where they didn't quite attack early enough. Kanakar was being a little bit more patient. He kind of waited till about 2.5 to go to strike, whereas in the previous race, we saw Rainey's Berzins going a little bit earlier, and then that escalated the speed a little bit more quickly to get a faster finishing time. So
1:27.864 is the 2nd place time, and that puts him for the moment behind Sean McAnuff. Another clean race though, and yeah, it just sort of feels like skaters being a little less cavalier, perhaps taking a fewer risks, playing the long game. It's a lesson in patience as well for them, I think.
Yeah. Well, it really just highlights the shift in mentality and the approach of the skaters to this racing, what they know, you know, when there's something so great at stake. There's times to take chances and take risks and learn from those racing, you know, mishaps, if you will. It's the best way you learn is from failure. You know, we often don't learn from success as much. So, but you can't take those chances on these weekends this year on the World Tour if you're one of those bubble skaters who's trying to, you know, earn their right to race at the Olympic Games.
Theo Collins, Ward Petre, Lucas McDonald, Raphael Moret, and Luka Jasic.
Go to the start. Ready.
Preliminary race number 7.
Quickly
Ice
this one
skaters on
gets
track.
wound up.
Number
McDonald off
56 from the British Royals.
ride tail gun
Theo
at the back,
Collins.
and
74
how
from
things
the
unfold.
Belgian Ice Bears, Ward Petre. 127 from New Zealand, Lucas McDonald.
Third.
137
The lone
from
Serbian
Switzerland,
Owl.
Raphael Moret. And 136 from the Serbian Owls.
Well, this race is all about the win at this point. The athletes, they're aware of what pace they're going. They know what the speed feels like. They know it's not on the mark. This is going to be very strategical. Ward Petre now start to accelerate the pace. Theo Collins setting up to take a look. Missed that corner a little bit, wasn't able to get his speed on the exit.
Petre turns 29 in January from Sint-Truiden. Kyrgyzstan now.
Back and forth battle between Jasic and Petre. Ward gets a little bit of a bump from behind, I think. Jasic up the inside, tight entry there. Lucas jumping up. Wow.
That's a great move to get through all that chaos. It's Lucas McDonald, the Ice Kia, coming through to take the heat. A great result for him.
You know what? Lucas McDonald's having a terrific weekend. We're seeing fist bumps all over the place from him. That was just capitalizing on the opportunity. Luka Jasic was very tight on the inside of Theo Collins. That bump caused both skaters to decelerate. They kind of separate on the exit. Lucas McDonald split in the middle and jumping up into first position on that opportunity.
Spotting it well, reading the situation. The 24-year-old out of Santa Rosa, California, trains in the U.S., but started speed skating in Vancouver. Based out of Auckland.
Well, here's that first, kind of late entry pass, maybe failure to give way from Theo Collins there, creating contact on the back of Petre Ward.
Right through the middle.
Yeah, and then, that's the contact that I was just mentioning, and then we see this tight entry, and opening the door through the middle goes Lucas McDonald. Great finish. That's always a good feeling.
Fist bump, good one for him. To get through, there is a rule.
Final decision, penalty number 56 from Great Britain, and an advancement for number 74 from Belgium.
And there is the penalty to Theo Collins for that contact. And our first advancement, illegal late pass. Right up inside, Petre went down, and he will be our first advancement of the day. And that was a slower heat, so that will rule out one of the quicker ones. Cast aside and confirmation. McDonald, though, taking the win. Heat number 8 on the ice. Watanabe Keita of the Japanese Ninjas, Adil Galiakhmetov of the Kazakh Nomads, Ivan Martinic of the Croatian Dalmatians, Denis Orz of the Turkish Anatolian Pars, and Simon Bastier.
Well, right now, Lucas Henrique on the bubble with the 1:27.86. It's still an achievable time. It's certainly not an easy time to skate. It's going to take some effort, but these skaters all have the ability to do so. I don't know. I kind of feel like this group might go a little bit quicker. We got a couple more sort of endurance-based, more athletes in this race. They may push the speed a little bit, but I've been proven wrong before.
Trusting the gut.
Just a feeling.
Go to the start. Ready.
Watanabe has been a name we've been saying quite a bit last year in the 1,000 meters on World Tour. He was 36th overall in the standings, a 2018 Olympian. One of the rare early 90s born skaters.
This race is going for it.
And it is oars. We know his top end speed. But now he might maybe look to slow things down a little bit there.
Well, I thought Simon Bastier, while he's going the outside, may just continue to the lead, but he decides to tuck in a second, so the lap pace dropped just slightly, but they're still looking decently on pace.
They're on the high 9 seconds. And closer to 10.
Yeah, now they're slowing.
A little bit slower.
The clock is ticking.
Now it starts to ramp back up again. Watanabe, a man who lives in Matsubara, a suburb of Tokyo.
Watanabe now striking up the inside.
There goes Watanabe.
And Galiakmatov then follows. Now Watanabe starts to fly.
Well, Watanabe was able to get on a good speed track after making that pass, able to drop the lap times down, sub-9.
And it will be Watanabe, a challenge coming, but he will take it. 1:27.81 is Galiakmatov's second place time, and I'm not sure that's quick enough.
It is. It will eclipse that of Lucas Henrique, but
Only
will it be
just.
quick enough to hold is the question.
That's now the new bubble time. Whereas when he got to the front, he slowed it down that little bit, but then couldn't ramp it back up when Watanabe went.
Well, I want to watch for this replay of Watanabe as he moves to the front here. Get a look at the next corner. He makes this pass, he shifts a little bit wide after, and he goes right to a speed track. Right here, we see him go one crossover in, but from that wide entry, really able to accelerate out wide exit. That dropped that pace down to those sub-9 second laps.
Watanabe, 2018 Olympics in Pyeongchang, 16th in the 500. Trying to run it back for another games in Italy next February. There are the results. Galiakmatov, we'll see how that time holds up. 6 races left to go. Martin Kolins of the Croatian Dalmatians. That man right there. Then Xiaojun, Iwasa Dan, Dennis Aira Petian, and Sui Shin of the Hong Kong Ice Chillins.
Go to the start. Ready.
Quick dash off the line and then maybe settling back a little bit.
Number 35 representing
Yeah.
the Croatian Dalmatians, Martin
Kind of, Lin
Collins.
Xiaojun is obviously, he's the heavy favorite in this race. He's an incredibly capable passer, as we always talk about. I didn't expect him to put any work in at the front. I think he's just so confident in his ability to move through the pack, as we see him doing right now, that he would kind of challenge the lead. But kind of interesting to see if the other skaters might kind of push the pace a little bit.
Under 10 seconds. So there's been a progression. They've been getting quicker and quicker still.
Well, I'm trying to do some quick math here as we come across this line at a 52. They're a little off the mark.
Into second position, following behind
Iwasa.
the Japanese skater Iwasa Dan. 2.5 laps to go.
Yeah, now
Decides it's his time.
Lynn's such a fantastic defender too. He's so difficult to pass around. He can manipulate his track pattern to make it very defensive. But this race isn't going to be quick enough, so you need to win it.
See what Iwasa Dan has. They're going to push it, but not going to get it. Lin Xiaojun. Yeah, they're in the 128s.
Unofficial winner, Lin Xiaojun.
So that time, Iwasa, the 128.457.
So if you're trying to kind of track the race in the 1,000-meter and calculating what their finishing time might be, or really for any race, what I'm looking at is when they cross the line with 3 laps to go, what's their time split? So there we saw it was 101 roughly at the time. So what I'm looking at is, okay, it's a 101. They got 3 laps to go. They're going to finish around those low, 9-second lap times, so kind of an average. So I'll add 30 seconds minus 3. That's going to put me in roughly around a 129 kind of range, depending on how they finish. So if you're trying to do those quick calculations on
Use your home whiteboard, get out the dry erase marker.
It's just quick mental
It's
math.
how we watch short track.
Yeah. And you could apply the same thing for the 1,500.
Just more numbers.
Yeah, 6 laps to go, 60 seconds,
Have
minus
a
6,
friend with you whose job it is to be the stenographer. Quick, 5 laps to go. That one was 9.5 seconds.
Were you weren't a math major, were you, Gavin?
No.
English major.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good job, Gavin. I did math in grade 12 though, and that was it was a challenge. You didn't have to, but I pushed it.
I took it in grade 12.
I mean, I haven't used my sines and cosines or my graphing calculator since then either, so,
That's fair.
Heat number 10, Gleb Ivchenko, Lucas Wareham, Peter Murphy, Chandler Tapram, and Jakub Karabin.
Go to the start. Ready.
Preliminary race. We have 5 skaters wearing number 43 representing the Kazakh Nomad, Gleb Ivchenko.
Peter Murphy.
71 representing the Australian Racing Rooms, Lucas Wareham.
Grand Duchy
118
of
representing
Luxembourg.
the Luxembourg Deuce, the current leader in this race, Peter Murphy.
Speaks English,
140
French,
representing
German, and Luxembourgish. Yes,
And
there is a language.
138 representing the Slovakian Ice
Not
Deer,
sure if it's on
Jakub
the
Karabin.
learning apps, although it'd be fun.
Rosetta Stone.
His sister Caroline also competed for Luxembourg.
Luxembourg skater Murphy is the leader.
Gleb Ivchenko now moving to the lead.
Gleb Ivchenko.
It's one of those races where the talent gets tighter and tighter.
Wareham moving into 3rd.
Lucas Wareham. Oh!
It is Murphy and Wareham coming together into the mats. And what that has allowed is Chandler Tapram to get right up behind Ivchenko. But catching is one thing, passing is something totally different.
Well, Lucas Wareham there was going on the outside, made a bit of a contact from the outside on Peter Murphy, which put him down and then took both of them out.
And there's Ivchenko now stretching it, getting that margin. And he will take it.
Unofficially moving on to the
131. So the time's going away a little bit. Let's see what happened. It was Wareham and Murphy.
This is going to be the incident here. Wareham looking around the outside. It's just the slightest of contact on the leg of Peter Murphy there just destabilizes him.
And it goes out of second place. Two of them go down. And so they are looking at possible lane change from inside to out on Murphy. And it being a top 2. Could also be, you know, as a, could be one, could be the other, or could be both.
You got to analyze
shared responsibility.
Yeah, the track pattern of both skaters in that moment.
And it has been cleared. So
it's a bit of both there, right? You know, Peter Murphy's a little bit moving to the outside, but maybe trying to generate some speed. Lucas Wareham's coming from the outside, but it's just the slightest of contacts. It didn't look malicious, you know. They
both have the same idea. There's just a limited amount of space out there on the ice. And so there you go, Evchenko with the win.
Oh, so they give...
Oh, well, there you go. There was an advancement.
All right.
As Murphy went down and Wareham was the unfortunate victim caught up in all of it. And so, yeah, it looked like there might have been no contact, and Murphy goes down, takes out Wareham, and that's the time where you're in the good position. You're the victim of something that's not your fault, and you get the advancement.
Yeah, one of those more rare circumstances when you see an advancement without a penalty.
There is Oleg Hyundai. A couple of good results yesterday for him. He is the seeded skater in this distance. There's also Etienne Bastier of the French Roosters, Jonas Hammermuller of the German Wolves right there, Eirik Andersen of the Norwegian Vikings, and Liu Shucheng of the Ice Chillins.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, Gavin. I'm going to go with the prediction that this race will be a little bit quicker. We know the strength of Etienne Bastier in the 1500. Saw him last year showcasing that on the World Tour, his ability to pull from the front, maintain a quick lap time, a quick pace for a significant amount of time. But you also have the likes of Ole Hyundai, who can really he has that top end speed. He can really challenge. So,
and he likes to go.
So you kind of have both skaters. I think they know they're fairly evenly matched. So, you know, you're kind of managing, you know, the risk there, thinking what's the best odds of me getting through, and it's like, well, it's probably better odds if we both get through, but if we put in this work here.
The track stewards once again doing the yeoman's work,
and that's such a big part of short track, is just you know, knowing your competitors, knowing who you're up against. And that was, you know, coming into this World Tour was, okay, Rim Jong-un, fantastic junior. Can he compete with the seniors? He never gone up against the likes of skaters like William Danjanu and Stephen Dubois and Jens van Wout and Pietro Siegel. How does he stack up? So it's hard to create a race plan against, you know, a skater that you don't have a lot of intel on. So the skaters would be paying close attention to those competitors to try to see, okay, what do I got to watch for? And I think they learn, you know, they're learning quickly where Rim Jong-un's strength lies. He's got incredible top speed. He can deliver it late in the race, which is so hard to do. He can pass extremely well on the outside, and he doesn't seem to fade at the end of the race of a 15. So they're taking all that, they're calculating it, thinking about, okay, now what's the best way, you know, to beat this skater? You know, how do we compete against him? And they're all doing that against each other. And I'm not just trying to single out Rim Jong-un, but I felt he's a fitting example for trying to learn your competition when you don't have a lot of history on them.
Yeah, they are quickly getting the intel on him.
You know, we're also seeing that he's very strong in the 1,000. He had some 500s that probably weren't the performances he was looking for. His start is maybe not quite on par with some others. So maybe in the 1,000 thinking, okay, well, if I can get out ahead of him and get the pace going, I can kind of trap him in the back. But he's so strong at the end of the race and he can pass so well, it's a risk too. What's the right answer? Time will tell.
That's your job to know.
Go
So Tyler
to the start.
a bit of a quicker one here. Watch for Hyundai.
Ready.
The blue and yellow. He likes to push it.
Preliminary
Well,
race number 11.
The prediction could be off. We got to see this probably under the 13-second mark. So, okay, they're just hovering around there. We got to see this. It's going to have to be a low 10. They got to keep it going. 9-7. Okay, so they're on pace. Ole Hyundai now going the outside. The pace is still accelerating here. This is going to be a quick lap.
And 97 representing Hong Kong, China.
8-9, my good, yeah, this race is going.
He wasn't, Liu tried to slow it down for just a little bit. Collision there.
That changes everything.
And Hyundai.
Kind of a failure to give way for Hammermuller there, going all the way up the inside of Hyundai.
We'll see what happens there, as it was right at the front. Hyundai grabbing his elbow.
Still left in this race.
So Bastier has Anderson right behind him, and Liu Zhucheng.
Well, this turns into a huge opportunity for Liu Zhucheng or Eric Anderson here.
With the quick start.
Time is going.
Anderson gritting his teeth as he loses contact, and Liu makes the move on Bastier.
Wow, Liu bringing it out here.
Initially, he was the one who tried to slow it down, and then that's the one that got everybody reacting.
Oh, Bastier missing it this time. That might cost him, though, just giving up at the finish.
It does. He slowed down out of the corner, did not push it. It goes to a 1:27.96. That has him behind a number of skaters. It looks like we're looking to see what's going to happen here with the review. I believe it's Sean McAnuff on the bubble right now with a 1:27.613.
Yeah, Bastier kind of pushed it. He could have maybe squeaked inside, but if we have a possible advancement here, that's going to chew up another spot.
So what it is, it's a possible illegal late pass on Hammermuller. Coming up right here, tries to go from third to first. And I don't even know if he was trying to go into first. He got, I think the goal is to get around Bastier, but Hyundai was right there around the corner. And
there's a skill to learn if you want to move up into the pack. If you're in third and you just want to move into second position, you know, there's some skaters that do it just so well as they come up the inside down the straightaway. They have the ability to kind of create some space by first not deviating their track too tightly and maybe pushing that other skater a little bit towards the outside, which then allows them to kind of tuck in a second. However, if you don't have that confidence to kind of create that move or build that, create that space, you sometimes find yourself getting pinched up going to that first position where you didn't intend to, which results in that failure to give way.
Final decision, penalty number 93 from Germany, and an advancement for 51 from Ukraine.
there we go. There is the advancement. Hyundai does go through. Hammermuller is penalized.
That's the illegal late pass right there.
And that was Sean McAnuff on the bubble there. And so the current bubble time, as we're quickly losing these second place opportunities, I believe is Peter Yasapati's 1:26.423. And we only have two.
Yeah, we already got 3 advancements, so we're only down to 2 times, 1:26.4 and 1:25.8. And those are quick times. Those are, you're gonna really have to commit to get those.
12, Toon Bort, Nico Anderman, Mika Klefstuen, Linus Lyzans, and Adrian de Wagdura.
Go to the start. Ready.
To the 12th preliminary race now. Wearing number 19 representing the Dutch Lions, turn 4. Number 72 representing Team Austria, Mikko Arohan. 123 from the Norwegian Vikings, Mika Klefstuen. 115 from the Latvian Golden Stars, Leonard Reynes Lyzans.
Well, this race is off to a very quick start here.
Belgian Ice Bears, Adrian de Wagdura.
They have to relax, though. It's almost too much pace too early. Oh! Klefstuen
Able to hold it.
That will cost some energy, though, to re-accelerate at this speed.
And he was right in second, so there's that gap to close for Anderman as well.
that's the interesting thing with short track. So we saw that off the opening lap, the first lap was a 9.0. The pace kind of dropping now. It was go 9.2, 9.3, 9.3. So they kind of, there was a tack early and then kind of settling back in. And you don't want to make your move when the pace is the highest. That's not when you strike. You want to strike when the pace is hopefully starting to fade towards the end of the race. It's easier to pass when the other skater's going slower.
Perhaps a chance for Anderman as Moore starts to fade. It's just too much of a gap, I think.
The time is good.
Moore taking it. 26.13. That might be one of the two now.
Yeah, I think that's going to knock out Yashapati's time of 1:26.4. It will. One thing that's tough too over the course of a weekend, if your strategy is so often looking for the time advancement position, you're always that skater who's pushing the pace, which means every time you're racing, you're working quite hard comparatively to those skaters who are more focused just on winning the race, who can be more patient, stay relaxed, and strike later. So it does that. Those efforts add up over the 2 weeks of the World Tour.
3 races still to go, as you see Thunborg advancing and Nico Anderman now one of those times on the bubble. We shall see what may be left. The last 3 heats have 4 skaters, so there's some extra space out there. Wonjun Moon, Zdenek Sepal, Maxim Maximov, and Tariq Omaragic. Where Moon put a few good races together last weekend in the 1,000.
So 82, move 1 over.
Good. Go to the start. Ready.
So it is Moon, the 24-year-old.
Chez les messieurs, 4 patineurs en piste portant le 48. Moon Wonjun, 65. Zdenek Sepal, 82. Maxim Maximov, et 78. Tariq Omaragic.
So looking at the time, if you're looking at the low 10s, high 9s, I'm guessing this is a bit of a slower start.
Yeah, this is going to be off the pace
Following in behind him
from what's required to go through.
Sepal from Czechia.
I think Moon's only worried about the win.
Bulgarian skater Maxim Maximov sitting in 3rd. 1+5 advancement. Only the winner will be guaranteed to move on to the heats a little bit later this morning, where we'll find our Canadian skaters.
Won Jun Moon doing a good job of progressing the pace. We've seen it lap over lap. He's dropping about 2/10 every time. Now he's going to start to push that top end speed as he moves down to 9.3 again from that 9.5, making it increasingly challenging for the following skaters, kind of trying to push their limits.
Oh, Omaragic tried to make a move. Either he went down, hit clipping Maximov or on his own, but that was near the back.
Yeah, there was a clash of the blades, and Omaragic was looking to set something up. Don't be too relaxed to the finish line, though.
We'll take it. Sepal, I think, knew that the time was not going to be enough. Quick turnaround for these guys. We'll have a flood, do the women's 500, and then have a flood, and then these guys will be back for the 1,000. So not a ton of time. Moon really looking in control there.
There's that just catching of the right toe of Omoragic's blade here. he's on the outside edge as his weight's coming across the straightaway, so that just tips you over and you go down.
Maximov didn't seem put off at first, but then he did start to lose contact after the incident. But Moon goes through. 130.434 for Zdeněk Sapal is not enough. 2 to go in the men's 1,000. Lu Jianchuo, Benson Ogradi, Radek Fajkus, Purapat Changmai. So an ice chillin, a falcon, an ice spider, and an elephant.
Go to the start. Ready.
Avant-dernière vague. Bon, that starts to
Ogradi and Fajkus. Lu just turned 20
dans le 55.
back in September,
De
sitting
Hong Kong,
back in
Laure Chandefour, 64. Ogradi Bensé, 86. Radek Fajkus. Et 139, Puripat Changmai.
up in the second, but Fajkus decides to get back
After the
into
first
it.
3 laps, it's the Hungarian skater Ogradi Bensé.
This is another one. They're just racing for the position right now. Ogradi, 23 years old, but Lu trying to go around the outside now. Can't quite get it just yet.
Well, this is a big effort from Lu Jianchuo, who's already making a few passes. He's still on the outside of Ogradi. He's got to get this completed. That will cost some effort.
What's left in the legs, that might close things up.
Hungary sitting in second, Czech Ice Spider sitting in third.
Ogradi has a little bit of a gap to accelerate into here if he can try to make a move on Lu Jianchuo, but he's going to be under pressure from Fajkus behind him.
And 1 to go. Lu trying to hold them off. Ogradi around the outside. And he's able to get it. Fajkus trying to get after it too, but it is Ogradi. Win from him.
Well, fantastic finish from Benson Ogradi there. One of the hardest things, and again, I've talked about this a little bit yesterday, but it's just like as you're fatiguing at the end of the race and your legs are getting heavy, even your mind starts to go dull. You're kind of fighting your body. You're fighting your instincts to want to be lazy in a sense of, but you're having to push those limits, and you have to push yourself mentally to stay, okay, I know I'm tired, but to make this pass complete, I really have to set it up. I have to make sure I have a little bit of a gap to accelerate into. I have to adjust my track pattern, and it can be so challenging to make that move when you're so fatigued at the end of the race. So those late stages, Benson Ogradi doing a terrific job making this outside pass happen on that final lap. So I think we get another look at it here. There he is driving out the outside, making it stick. Nice and clean too, no contact, no question marks there. Great finish from Benson Ogradi.
There you go. Ogradi 128.531, Fajkus 128.793 the time. Not enough. So we only have 2 second place at the moment with 1 heat still to go. Brandon Kim, Matehan Atan, Peter Grossclose, and Su Jun Peng.
Go to the start. Ready.
Dernière vague avant une petite pause. 4 patineurs en piste. Wearing the number 23, representing USA Eagles,
on
Brendan
the front.
Kim. Wearing the number
He and Kim
57,
ranked side by side,
Metahan
44 and 45. Kim is
Philippines
44.
skater Peter Grossclose sitting again.
Well, sometimes you just feel like a skater's world rank maybe isn't indicative of what their ability is, and I feel that way a little bit about Kim. I think his potential is far higher than what his rank gives him, and as I say, oh, but he watched. That's the risk of the outside. Tan gets. We'll have to see that incident again, but Tan loses his footing. There might have been a contact. Brandon Kim was outside of him, and then he's the victim of that fall. And both skaters go down, but they were both in those lead positions, really side by side there.
Opportunity for either Gross Close or Sue here. Yeah, that'll be interesting because that would have been at or near the front of the race. And Atan is able to finish. Kim was a little bit slower getting up. He's doubled over there a little bit. As the bell, Gross Close.
Now it's still Peter Gross Close.
He will take this one going away. That is, of course, subject to review there.
Atan still on track. Gross Close takes the win here.
The Philippine Tamara. So we'll look back.
So we'll be watching as Brandon Kim starts to respond on the outside to go to the front.
Blade to blade there. Gross Close. And then here we go. 3 into it. Atan loses his balance.
Yeah, Atan and Gross Close out. Well, I want to see kind of what happens going on the entry to that turn between Gross Close and Atan. So
There is a bump.
yeah, it's a little bit of a late pass from Gross Close, it kind of looks like, and then Atan gets hit, which puts him down, and just poorly, unfortunate timing for Brandon Kim there being on the outside of that incident. So
They're also looking at a potential, they're looking at a legal late pass on Gross Close, potential arm block from Atan. All the while, though, it could be Kim being advanced, because what did he know about that? Nothing
Yeah.
until he was into the mattresses.
well, it's interesting because depending on the angle, you know, was Metahan Atan in the lead there at this point of the race. But Atan is in the front when he takes that bump.
Final decision. Penalty number 57 from Turkey and an advancement from number 23 from the United States of America.
And there you go, Atan the penalty, and Kim the advancement. And so in the end, just 1 second place time moving through. And so it is a lane change from outside to in on the corner.
You see how deep he was off those blocks on the entry as he comes back in.
And there you go. You see the ice resurfacers. That's block 1 of the day in the books. It's about 15 minutes, I believe. We'll be back. We'll be back at 10:45 local time. So in about 15 minutes on the other side, women's 500-meter preliminaries. See you soon.
为什么会像不自然？不是因为自然有答案，是因为自然能让人放下问题。天性自然，自然而然。与博结合，一起奔赴自然。
500-meter distance now. We're in the women's preliminary round. 8 races in the preliminaries with a 2+4 advancement to the heats. All of the Canadian skaters are pre-qualified for the heats, so we will see them a little bit later on today. Sommet avant sur un instant de 500 mètres pour le ronde préliminaire chez les femmes. 8 vagues avec un avancement de 2+4 pour passer en qualification un peu plus tard aujourd'hui.
And then you grab the wrong headset. Hi, everybody, welcome back.
There we go. Now we got him. Don't worry, he's got coffee now. He has coffee in the mug.
It's just one of those mornings. Anyway, 8 heats, top 2 from each race, and a maximum of 4 fastest third places coming through. Thank you to the guys down below for alerting me to the fact that I had the wrong headset on.
Ready.
So Kim Gili in this one, Lisa Eckstein, Petra Vankova, Leia Popovikova, and Diana Michalchuk.
Kim Gili taking advantage of that inner start position off to the lead of this 500-meter.
Popovikova trying to chase down a former Crystal Globe winner. Doing a pretty good job of it actually right now, but here comes Vankova and the rest of the chasing skaters as Gili just puts in a shift. Vankova up into second.
Well, we're looking for top 2 positions. Then we have the 4 fastest thirds. Popovikova now
Losing it out of the corner.
drop it back to 4th, Kim Gili.
And it's Kim, Vankova, and Eckstein getting up for third. 45.73, the time to watch there.
Kim Gili, 44.43. Just a smooth, relaxed pace there. One kind of use the Carlos signs, smooth operator. You're an F1 follower.
I know the name. I don't get. For me, it peaked in 1997 with Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, I'm one of those Drive to Survive fans that got invigorated to watch F1 and now try to watch most of the races.
And now pretty much every sport is trying to replicate it with their own little series.
They did a terrific job. We got to bring that to short track.
No, they don't. Well, they can stay away from here.
A skate to survive, you know. But just a smooth, clean, tidy race from Kim Gili.
And there we go. Kim Gili, Petra Vankova through Eckstein. Will now sit, watch, and wait. 45.715 her time. Heat number 2. Nicolas Mazur, Lam Qingyan, Betty Muska, Alyssa Pak, and Chung Xiaoying.
Go to the start. Ready.
It is Mazur.
Second preliminary race, 5 skaters on track.
20-year-old, or she's still actually 19, not even 20 until early next month when we see them next month in Gdansk. She'll have turned 20. She is out of Białystok, but she's off and away with Lam in second.
We're watching Betty Musk in 3rd position now. If she can close the gap down on Qingyan Lam.
Skater from Hong Kong, China, Lam Qingyan.
Sitting in second. Very smooth, very comfortable Lam Qingyan. Not really able to close it down. It's very spread out, and so there it is. Mazur wins.
Unfortunate fall for the German skater
Lam
right
in
before
second.
the line.
Muska did take a tumble
And unofficially
across
moving
the
on to
line,
the
though.
heats will be Nicolas Mazur and Lam Qingyan.
Yeah, right before the finish, but still came across the line, was it?
I think it was as she was crossing, yeah, because she was there up until the very last moment. She did get a time less than a second off of Chung's pace.
Well, the 500 meter, it's the all-out sprint, and the race happens so quickly. It's so challenging. If you're a skater who doesn't have, you know, maybe you're not as gifted with a quick start off the line. It's so challenging to work your way through the pack because you have such limited time to make passes and everybody's trying to go at top speed. So you're trying to pass at the highest speeds, which is the most difficult thing to do when short track. It's much easier when the pace is slow, obviously, to make those moves, but in the all-out sprints, it becomes a challenge. And that's when you see skaters having to kind of take some risks and you know, commit to some passes that maybe they're not quite wanting to make just yet, but they feel so pressured on the time and the duration of the race that they got to make those moves quickly. And as we progress and the races get tighter, you see that just unfolding.
There are the confirmed results. Missouri and Lamb going through. And now we'll see Chung's time 44.816. That is quicker than heat number 1. Heat number 3 on the ice now. Yana Khan, Tineka Dendulk, Elena Krylova, Berenice Combi, and Svetlana Rapetska.
Go to the start. Ready.
Combi, you saw there, the French rooster. She's out of Orléans, which is the same club as Etienne Bastien.
Race rank number 40, representing Kazakhstan, Yana Khan.
Strong start from Tineka Dendulk in position number 2 to get the lead. She's got Seragina, sorry, Kirilova, the other AIN athlete.
And it is Combi up the inside on Khan, getting one. Is there more?
Oh, a little click of the skates there. All the skaters stay up.
Berenice Combi now makes the move for second. It's very concentrated there, so compact. And Combi trying to make the late move for the lead, opts better of it. Now it's the dash to the line. I think she might lose it, and she does. Dendulk takes it. Krylova, nice move late to get up into second.
Yeah, so Beatrice Combi coming in. Berenice. Confusing all my names today, Gavin.
Hey, I can relate.
Yeah, we've only said a few, but Berenice Combi looking for that late kind of inside, going into the last corner. She has to back out of it, but she's really tight on the entry because she was looking up the inside, so it really dumps her speed on that last corner. And then Krylova able to take advantage of that on the exit of the turn. There's an earlier view of the click of the blades. Here's that one. They get so tight together here. That first pass from Combi.
You're talking about
now here, right there, that tight, no speed on the entry, no crossovers. Krylova able to make that tight exit.
You mentioned the importance of the start. Yana Khan really punished for it. She was the seeded skater with this, and she slipped all the way to 5th.
And it's, you know, before we used to have false starts to be a false start awarded, and even earlier when I was in my younger days, every skater was allotted one false start. So it would just take forever because that start is so critical in the 500 meter that you'd have skaters doing whatever they could to gain an advantage and sometimes trying to jump the gun, and maybe they time it perfectly because that could be the difference. And now once we've gone to this no false start rule, which is great to keep the races flowing and moving quicker, you know, you can't risk jumping the gun, but if you just miss the timing, that reaction, it can really penalize you.
45.222 is Combi's time in 3rd there. Heat number 4, Annabelle Green. Speaking of good starters, she is there. Zeynep Kumar Khan, Hyojin Kim, Myungbi Jung, and Isabella Caicedo.
Go to the start. Ready.
And there is that great start from Green.
There's number 51, representing Great Britain, Annabelle Green. 76 from the Kazakh Nomads.
Allows her to just break it wide open. Kumar Khan trying to close it. Jung is also there. This one at the moment, Annabelle Green's race to lose. Some race like this would certainly boost the confidence.
Well out in front of this race. He's followed in second by
Kumar Khan in second right now.
Sitting in 3rd.
She has to try to keep the speed going, but defend that position.
Jung and Kim are both closing. Kim makes the move for 3rd, trying to get around for 2nd. It's going to be a good dash to the line. It's Green, and it's Kim with a great finish.
Oh, terrific last lap from Hyojin Kim. Taking to the outside, as we talked about, it's easier to pass when the pace starts to slow. In the last laps of that race, I was kind of commenting on Kumar Khan there. going with a little bit more of a defensive track, tighter entry, tighter exit, that's a slower track pattern. It does create those opportunities for those outside passes to become more available as the pace is decelerating in the final laps. And then right there we had Hyojin Kim doing just that here on the outside.
A good race for Green. Maybe not her best weekend last weekend, but off to, you know, in her preferred event, that's the way you want to start it.
And no advancements through the first 4 races. We have 4 heats remaining here, so times will likely come into play unless we have a lot of drama unfolding in these next 4 skates.
Famous last words, my friend.
Always hedge the bet a little bit.
Well, as we were just talking about, yesterday was such a clean day. Maybe they're taking it a little easier, and then we get a whole slew of advancements from the men's 1,000. Heat number 5, Fan Kushing, Barbara Samogi, Lee So-yun, Barbara Gakova, and Chloe Cameron. The other British Royal, the Glaswegian, as we take a look at Lee.
The Glaswegian.
Oh, you're from Glasgow. You want to double check my my factoids?
They're not
there?
Glasgonians?
No. They don't follow your rules, my friend.
Go to the start. Ready.
And it is Fawn, the incredibly decorated Chinese sprinter off the line.
Number 70 representing Hungary, Sonagi Barbara. 79 from the Republic of Korea.
An eye out for Lee.
63 from the Czechia ice starter.
32-year-old from Suwon making her move.
66 representing the British Royals.
Look on the outside of Samogi.
It's the 3-time Olympic medalist Fan Kushing.
Lee So-yun up the inside of Samogi into second place.
Now seeing what she has for Fawn. Samogi hasn't given it up yet. And one to go, Fawn trying to lead wire to wire. And will do just that. Ooh, Lee made it close, but I think Fawn still tight finish there.
Unofficially moving on to the heats.
Well, if you're watching the track pattern of Qualification there, she does such a terrific job of keeping the exits tight to block that inside lane, but that slight shift down the straightaway, moving more towards the middle on that entry so she can continue to carry that speed. There she's coming off the speed track, then she shifts to be a little bit more defensive, tighter exit there, shifting on the entry, a little bit wider to build some speed going in.
That was close in the end. I still think Fawn got it. Indeed she does, by that much.
It looks way bigger now when they go to the photo finish.
So it's a country mile, those 1900ths of a second. There you go, Samogi 44.120. And heat number 6 of 8, Sofia Konya, the Hungarian Falcons, Chloe Olivier of the Roosters, Katarina Budic of the Croatian Dalmatians, Anna Jansone of the Latvian Golden Stars, and Kirana Laut of Indonesia. There were Laut and Olivier in that one shot, the 2 Canadian-born skaters in this race.
Go to the start. Ready.
Konya, 30-year-old, born in Szeged, lives in Budapest. This is Olivier bringing the early pressure. Where will her moment come? Tyler likes to point out there's really maybe one chance in a race as Budic gets a bump from Jansone, stays on her blades though.
We'll have a review of that pass from Jansone.
And one to go. Of course, Olivier doesn't have to make the move. It's top 2 moving on. She might be more than happy to just get that. She'll make it close. Almost lost it coming out of the corner. Janssen up for third with 45.25, but is that review forthcoming? Pretty straightforward win from Kanya. Position 1. Yep. Fast off the start, continuing fast, and finishing fast.
By the book there, win the start, lead the race.
Win the race.
Take it to the finish.
Olivier made it close. Guessing looks at things, didn't want to risk anything, since it is 2 going on.
Yeah, you'll tend to see some of the more confident skaters maybe look to make that late move just in order to better their position and perhaps their time for the following round. They're thinking more, you know, of the next round while they're in that race, whereas other skaters just gotta make sure I'm safe here, punch the ticket to go through, don't take those risks. See if we get another look. This is that inside, maybe looking at a failure to give way or a legal late pass.
Final decision, penalty, Latvia, number 81.
There you go, and it is Janssen penalized. No advancement, so Budic, 45.622 for third place time. Now she'll see how that holds up.
Yeah, failure to give way on that inside pass attempt, which cost some speed to Katarina Budic, so her time was a little bit impacted. That one's going to be on the bubble. Right now, it's the slowest of the 4th place times in qualifying position with 2 heats remaining.
Last heat has 4 skaters. So I always like to say it's like the good old days, back when there were 4 starters on a line. And was it all the races, or was it just the 500?
Just the 500, yeah. And the 4 in the 500 and 4 in the 1,000, sorry, and we would have 6 in the 1,500.
Right.
Go to the start. Ready.
Is Yelizaveta Sidorko, Nakashima Mide, Tamara Tokarova, Phoebe Stens, and Diana Vegi.
From the Ukrainian Wildcats, Yelizaveta Sidorko, number 30, representing the Japanese
Nakashima trying to make a move for the lead, her and Sidorko.
Well, a nice move from Vegi to move up into 3rd position, closing down the gap smoothly on Sidorko.
71 from the Hungarian Falcons, Vegi Diana Dora. C'est la japonaise qui mène l'Ukrainienne en 2e position.
It is Nakashima trying to take this one. Sidorko under pressure. She lost a lot of speed coming out of the corner. Vegi is pushing, and she might just hang on. And a win for Nakashima. And Sidorko is second at 44.63 for Vegi. That will be quicker than...
Yeah, that's going to be one of our quicker 3rd place finishes. I think it's going to be our 2nd fastest 3rd place finish.
Vegi got through the early traffic and then closed it down, just not able to push it past Sidorko. And that's another one I don't think is getting reviewed. And yes, that pushes Budic's time off the bubble. One more heat to go. As I mentioned, 4 skaters. There's a rooster, a nomad, a ninja, and an elephant. Okali Levek, Alika Yermak, Kanai Rika, and Tanuche Chatai Song. There she is, 19 years old, inline background, and Okali Levek out of Grenoble.
Go to the start. Ready.
Good start for Kanai to get up into second out of position number 3. It says Levesque leading away.
Well, Levesque doing a good job on the second corner entry to shift wide, get the 2 crossovers in, accelerate the speed. Yermak looks up the inside.
Kanai goes out wide. That incident will be reviewed. Levesque trying to stretch it, make it so that nobody can pass her. 1 to go. Looks like it will be Okeli Levesque taking this one. And Malika Yermak crosses second. We'll see what gets reviewed there.
Well, we'll have a review of that inside pass from Yermak.
Levesque was the top-seeded skater in this race. Ranked 35th, Yermak was 37th coming in.
Here's a look at that inside pass. Yermak.
In the end, there's not really much contact. She was through, and Kanai went out way out wide. Although I think the contact was before the corner where.
Yeah, it was during the straightaway. Kanai was a little bit wide coming in the cross. Again, we'll need to get another look at that kind of front-on angle to see their track pattern changes down the straightaway.
It's possible failure to give way. That would be on Yermak. So we get this look at it. Jostling of arms. Just enough, and Kanai drifted out right there. Then momentum carried Kanai out wide.
Final decision. No penalty for shared responsibility between number 77 from Kazakhstan and 74 from Japan.
And there you go, shared responsibility. So they were side by side, essentially entering the corner.
Well, you watch Kanai here on the outside. Watch this shift across.
Right.
So that's a bit of a move there of the racing incident, but also a little bit of a failure to give way. So it's a shared responsibility. Both skaters kind of battling it out for that spot.
And so no penalty. Yermak in second, and Chatai Song's time a 45.301. Not enough to move on. And so Vegi, Samogi, Kombi, Chung, all moving on as the third place skaters.
Another short break. Racing will resume with the men's 1,000 meter heats at 11:24 a.m.
There you go. You see the qualifiers. Competition resuming at 11:24 local time. So in about 15-ish minutes. So we'll see you on the other side.
Avec les 1000 mètres chez les messieurs. J'aimerais vous rappeler que nous avons Subway côté ouest tout le long du week-end, ainsi que quelques kiosques et boutiques côté ouest pour vos achats. Just a reminder that we have a Subway in case you're hungry or thirsty on the west side the entire weekend. And we also have a couple other kiosks and boutiques there in order to make your purchases. That's all on the west side all weekend. J'aimerais aussi prendre l'opportunité de remercier nos commanditaires et nos partenaires. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors, thank our partners and sponsors, ISU, International Skating Union, Pelio, CNSG, China National Sport Group, PVC Patinage de Vitesse Canada, PVQ Patinage de Vitesse Québec, Gouvernement du Canada, Gouvernement du Québec, Tourisme Montréal, la Ville de Montréal, Comité olympique canadien, Bell, Intact Assurance, IGA Plaza Montréal, Université de Montréal, Parc olympique, Aéroport de Montréal, Nagano State, Café William, Association régionale de patinage de vitesse, Matrec, et finalement Subway, Gas Food Truck et Moosehead. Un grand merci à tous nos partenaires. A big thank you to all of our partners. We will see you in 15 minutes with the men's 1,000 meter heats.
Cause for this moment, I want the glory. There's nothing 本生物相当自然，不是因为自然有答案，是因为自然能让人放下问题。天性自然，自然而然。与博结合，一起奔赴自然。
plus 4 pour passer en ronde de quart de finale samedi après-midi. We are just over a minute away from the start of racing with the men's 1,000 meter heats. We will have 8 races with a 2+2 advancement to the quarterfinal round. The first and second place skaters from each race and up to a maximum of 2 fastest third place skaters will qualify for the quarterfinals of the main event on Saturday afternoon.
Another block of racing coming up back to the men's 1,000 meters. The higher seated skaters now entering the fray. The men's 1,000 heats, let's just see here. 8 heats in all, first and second from each race, and up to 2 fastest third place skaters qualify for the semifinals. Joined once again for this block of racing by former Canadian national team member, Olympian in 2014, and now working on the commentary side of things. Our Canadian audience will hear him during the Olympics this winter in Milan, or from Milan. Michael Gilday, welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be here again and looking forward to these heats. There's a couple of really good ones in here.
Already an interesting prospect with William Donjanu, Brendan Corey, Shin Dong Ming, Won Jun Moon, and Gleb Ivchenko.
Go to the start. Ready.
Le départ est donné pour cette première vague, c'est le Canadien volant William Donjanu en tête avec un casque personnalisé.
Well, Donjanu going right to the front as he so often does.
He's trying to get back on track a little bit too after last weekend. He had that win in the 500 meters, but 3 crashes, uncharacteristic for him. He's normally a very stable skater.
Well, something we were talking about was the ice conditions. They had made some changes to the ice. The thickness came up. Shintong Min up the inside, but the thickness came up. It's a little bit different than the Canadian skaters were used to skating on here, and I think that's maybe something that was affecting him on those turn exits, maybe getting a little bit ice conditions off from what he's used to.
Battle shaping up behind Donjanu, Moon, and Shin battling for second. Corey and Ivchenko monitoring right there as well. Inside 3 to go.
Well, that's like Moon Won Jr. letting that gap open up. He seems to be maybe not comfortable, but going to go to a defensive pattern here, not being offense anymore.
Top 2 automatically go through. Donjanu looking like he's got one sealed up. There goes Shin into second. Corey now pushing it up into third, and he will battle for third. He'll get that one. Donjanu takes it. Well, this Shin in second.
Donjanu really pushing the pace there. We get a pretty quick time. Brendan Corey making that late maneuver on the outside to get third. That could be, I don't suspect we're going to get too many time advancements with this many races because it's only the 2 fastest thirds. But if we do, that could be a strong time for Brendan Corey with that 1:25.71. So we'll be keeping an eye on that.
You talked about William Donjanu pushing the pace there, and he did that so well last year, especially those last few laps of his 1,500 meters. He would stretch it out. If he was in front with 4 or 5 to go, it was almost good night to the rest of the field. And there was a lot of talk last week after the final laps that Rim Jong-un laid down in his 1,500 meters, and people wanting to see that showdown between those two. And maybe William Donjanu back on track so we can get that showdown this weekend.
Yeah, that was something that William Donjanu did so strongly. The beginning half of the World Tour was dominating from the front, and then there was kind of this stint in Tilburg where I think he was trying things out a little bit. He was opting more to race from the back and making some big moves late in the race, but he ended up racking up a couple yellow cards over 2 weekends there. And then when we came back to the Worlds, it was kind of changing that strategy to go from the front of the race. And sometimes, I was talking with the team, it was just saying, you're going to find yourself in situations that maybe you didn't plan on. So trying to take some different approaches. And I think William Donjanu was playing with that a little bit, but showing here again that that's the strategy that really seems to be the best for him.
But it's so important, to be able to be comfortable in so many situations. I was thinking as we were watching there, just to the right of the name board, we saw Charles Hamelin doing the repair on the ice, and he was one who he loved to skate at the front. They called him the locomotive, right? That was his thing. He'd go to the front and he'd just break everyone's legs. But for him, figuratively, yes, he would blow them up, right? but he needed to sometimes switch that up and get uncomfortable, put himself in uncomfortable situations. And you might do that in training, and it's weird to come into a World Tour event where you think, man, it's all the focus is on winning. But this is the opportunity that these skaters have to test themselves in different situations against the best skaters in the world. And those are the things that they're going to take forward to the Olympics. So, you know, it's a kind of a catch-22.
Go to the start.
Don't want to be too predictable either.
Ready.
This race, Pietro
In the
Segal.
second heat, we have number
Nice to
3,
see
the
him
gold medal winner
picking up
last
the win a weekend ago in the 1,000 meters. Quentin Falcock, Ivan Posashkov, Peter Groskos, and Lucas McDonald. Those last two came through the preliminaries not too long ago.
Pietro Segal allowing a little bit of a gap here. This is something that we were talking about yesterday. Sometimes using that gap to transition it into a pass when you accelerate.
Well, if you want to watch a really good example of that, take a look at the 1,000-meter final from last week. He had that little bit of a gap, got in the slipstream, and just perfectly timed his pass on Rim Jong-un and took the victory. Very, very well-deserved one for Pietro Segal.
On the front, Segal, smooth as you like into the lead.
Yeah, nice little outside, inside.
With 3 laps to go.
And that gap can free up some space for you, which is so important. And then a skater like William Danjanu, his track pattern is so versatile, and he can defend so well in a corner entry. If you're too tight on him, you're going to run up on him too. So being able to find that comfortable space that you can allow, but
Bit of a slip there, Segal, and they're watching this last corner to see if there's possibly a rut there if he tries to avoid it. No issues.
So Segal and Falcock. Groskos jumps up to third with a 1:27.17.
so we often get caught up so much talking about, you know, the racing and what we're seeing on the track, and I think there's such another big component to skating is all the things that the skaters are doing off the track, not just on a daily, you know, on a racing day, but throughout the season. And Michael, I'm going to credit you, because when we started training together, I remember really watching you, because you really dedicated so much, you know, of your life outside the track to improving yourself as an athlete, and I learned a lot from that and watching you, and that kind of inspired me to make changes to be better and be a 24-hour athlete. But kind of want to get your, you know, pick your brain on that, of all the little things that add up outside of the arena.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that the ice time it's a supply issue, right? You can only be on the ice so often. Your body can only sustain so many laps, and there's lots of little ways to improve yourself outside of that. And I think one of the things that we're seeing a lot more of, even from, you know, when we were skating, is the use of video. Being able to watch different skaters, watch yourself, look at the you know, your races or your tendencies, understand where you have you know, weaknesses, and I wish we could have done more of that. Like, I definitely tried to do that as a skater, and there was sort of, we were at the beginning of real video analysis now, but the skaters have so much opportunity for that now, and there's just the potential to really you know, analyze. It's analytics, right? We talk about analytics all the time now, and learn from that.
Well, I think sometimes, you know, even as myself, you have to, it's like, I don't like watching myself skate, but you kind of have to get over that fact and be like, yeah, I do have shortcomings that I can improve on, and that's the best way to see them.
Heat number 3, Jens
Go
Van Tvout
to the
there,
start.
Stan de Smet, Tobias Wolff, Thomas Natalini, Felix Pigeon.
Ready.
Very deep as heats go. Van Tvout
Third heat in the men's
healthy
1,000
again,
meters.
sick last
Wearing number
weekend.
2, second in this distance last year.
Well, that was another skater missing from the World Tour last weekend that we were really looking forward going up against Rim Jong-un, was against Van Tvout. It was really the battle of Van Tvout and Danjanu at the tail end of the season, and he's kind of thinking, well, how is Rim going to stack up against the likes of those two?
19.
And a skater that has that top speed, right? And not just the top speed, but the comfort at top speed. You watch the body language again, Fedveld often has his hands on his back, as he does now. Nice little look between the legs there, just checking out how things are going. But he just, when he's on, he looks so comfortable, especially on the left foot, which is the one that's, you know, a little bit less maybe intuitive or natural of a movement.
Yeah, as you go through the corner, you feel a little bit more comfort, a little more stability on that outside leg, the right leg of the corner. Gaining that confidence on the left is quite challenging for a lot of skaters, but Jens Van Wout is not hindered by that whatsoever. He can turn so well on that left and get such a strong push off of it.
And he has the flexibility too in his hips to really lean in on it. And it shows he's able to accelerate off it very well.
Desmet winding things up, getting on the inside of Natalini. It's tight into the corner. Makes it stick, but that is for third. And Van Wout and Pigeon going 1 and 2.
Well, we're talking about the comfort of Jens Van Wout at speed. He just pulled a 124.8 there, and it barely looked like he was working whatsoever.
I don't think he put the hand down maybe twice.
And just showcasing how comfortable he is at that high speed and for that duration of the race.
Well, as we take a look at the replay here, you can, using the new ISU app, you can look at those lap times and you can just see how flat he was, just close to those 9.0, 9.1, 9.2 kind of the whole way. And that just makes it so difficult for other skaters. There's not that many opportunities to pass, and if you want to pass, you know, 9.0 isn't extremely fast by any standards for the men, but the amount of effort that you have to invest to pass someone who's going 9.0 is significant. And if you know, when you're thinking about decision making within a race, if you're saying 5-6 to go, should I do this? Should I invest that energy now? You know, it makes it a harder decision point.
And that sustained speed, for some skaters, you're kind of expecting while they're holding those lap times for that long, that you might start to see some fall off. But with Jens Van Wout, he's not dropping off of that pace. If anything, he actually can likely still accelerate and respond to your pass attempt, which then it drops the pace even faster, making it more difficult.
That's the fastest heat we've seen so far as third place times go. So it's Brendan Corey on the bubble right now with a 125.7-ish. Heat number 4, then Xiao Jun in your picture right now. There's also Roberts Krusbergs, the aforementioned Rim Jong-un, Miyata Shogo, and Łukasz Kuczynski. And so this is stacked.
Go to the story. Ready.
See how Rim might fare against trying to pass Roberts Krusbergs, going shoulder to shoulder against the big man.
I was going to say, with the time advancement, I expect this will be one of the quicker ones, in part because Robert Krusbergs is in there. He often likes to get to the front of the race, and obviously a number of these skaters have extreme finishing speed.
Well, Miyata Shogo there took control of the race on that first lap and really didn't push the speed. We see a 10-second lap, and that's already going to be a little bit off the marker of what they're going to have to do. So it's going to come down to this showdown of these all strong skaters in this race. So watch for some exciting moves later on. Who's going to make the move first?
And how aware, too, are the skaters in the front going to be? You know, Shogo Miyata's in a good position now to react, and you can see him here. He takes a look over his shoulder, picks up the pace a little bit to make sure that he doesn't go from first to third or the fourth.
Look at that from Rim.
Well, Rim just dropping the hammer here, opening it up.
Korean skater
8-3 lap there.
Last weekend in this event.
It's making it look so smooth, so easy. You can just, relative to the skater's body, you can see how much they're working to try to sustain this speed. Lin Xiaojun
moving into third place, looking for one of those guaranteed
Bumping up behind Miyata, and he goes down. Just missed Krusbergs there. I'm not sure if the space was there. Miyata was closing it down, and Krusbergs is going to jump up and jump into second. The long reach.
Well, there was that inside pass attempt from Lin Xiaojun. Shogo kind of trying to block it off, losing some speed into that second last corner. That provided that opportunity for Roberts Krusbergs to really accelerate. He did a terrific job setting up that wide entry coming into that last turn to hook it tight on Miyata Shogo to drive to the line, get that second place.
Well, and that bit of lost speed, too, very costly at the end of the race when the pace was high. It's hard to come back from that. A couple of reviews, though, in this race, so we'll see what the referees are taking a look at. But Rim Jong-un, look at this pass on the outside. He just goes by, and like you say, Tyler, it's so subtle, that speed. He's so subtle with the speed. It's almost unrecognizable, but 8.3 seconds. We get a look there. Watch the arms on the inside. Both skaters battling it out there.
So both for Mieta involvement there. Possible arm block on him as well at the finish line.
That was battling for that second position at that point of the race, so wait to see if they're looking at any possible advancements.
Well, and Gavin mentioned the possible arm block at the finish line there. You saw in the replay, Shogo Miata had his arm right into the stomach of Roberts Kreuzberg.
So when you're in a physical battle with Roberts Kreuzberg, there's usually one way that ends. So the first incident, the one with Lin Xiaojun, has been cleared, so it's just that second look at the line.
Well, we often joke he's that immovable object. There's just some skaters that just feel so heavy when you go up against them. And we were talking earlier today, Michael, about some of those tight inside passes, trying to create some space. Well, here's another look. There's a click of the blades there too as they go down, which
it's typically just a race incident. You get the click of the blades, but
right there.
But sometimes we see skaters that when the pace might be a little bit, you know, not at the top speed yet, but someone just trying to move up from position 3 to position 2. But there's a bit of a skill that you can develop in which you can kind of help create some space by just using your body position as you want to tuck into second and maybe not jump all the way to the lead. And Kreuzberg, sometimes those skaters, you hit them and you just feel like you bounce off them, even though they're not putting in a big shoulder check or anything of that nature. But
well, and the interesting thing too about those little contacts is they don't look like much on the ice, but they actually can be fairly costly in terms of energy management. If you just are thrown off your radius, your turning radius in the track, you have to adjust that. Maybe you take a little bit extra force, and it's almost like throwing in an extra squat. You know, those add up over the course of the race, and when you're trying to be fast at the end, it all matters.
Just kind of thinking back on that race there, you know, we saw that the battle of Kreuzberg and Miata Shogo kind of looking towards the front. And I think both are maybe kind of having the idea that at some point Rim Jong-un's going to go and strike, and then I'm going to want to latch on and try to defend that second position. But Rim went with such speed and such velocity around the outside that the gap was too big too quickly.
Final decision. No penalty for shared responsibility between number 30 from China and number 5 from Japan.
So pardon me, it was actually the thing at the finish line that was cleared, and they were still reviewing the first incident, but as you heard it, no discipline for shared responsibility. Sort of, you mentioned the blade click, one blade going in, one going out, limited amount of space. Look how close it was to Kreuzberg's.
Well, yeah, he was lucky that he didn't get impeded there just wide enough so that he could continue to skate through that exit.
So 126.045, not quick enough for Miata, and so we'll have to venture through the repechage.
Well, Brendan Corey is sitting in the bubble with the 125.71 right now, the second fastest third place time.
Heat number 5, Sun Long, Lucas Beckenhauser, Huang Daehyun, Bensit Nogradi, and Brandon Kim.
Brandon Kim took a hard fall in the preliminary round. He was kind of holding the knee there, so hopefully he's feeling fine now.
Go to the start. Ready.
In this fifth heat, we have 5 skaters wearing number 9, representing China.
Back on the podium in the 1500 meters.
Italian gladiators, Lucas
Second to his supremely talented young teammate.
Well, this is another one of those quite deep heats here. Brandon Kim, of course, is now a little more fully invested in short track training, and Beckenhauser has had some success over the past couple of seasons, particularly at 1500 meters. As he makes a move on the outside here, he's going to want to finish it quickly so Hung Dae-hoon doesn't hang him outside. Nicely done.
In front of the world record holder in this distance, Huang Dae-hoon, representing the Republic.
That drops the pace right down to those 9:02 lap times that we were talking about earlier. A bit of a faster pace, but still skaters capable of passing here.
Fourth right now. Top 2 will be moving on to the quarterfinal round.
Daehyun and Speckenhauser still in charge right now, but
So a little bit of that gap there that Speckenhauser has behind Wang Deon, but Brandon Kim doing a little bit of the same thing.
Well, at this point, with just 2 laps to go, you don't want to wait too much longer to make a move, obviously, but you might have an opportunity to take advantage. Sun Long here finding the door.
Johnny on the spot. As those two came together, Speckenhauser and Kim, they slowed down, and that opened up for Sun. And Kwong and Sun go 1-2, Speckenhauser to third with a 1:27.07 approximately.
Really nice job there, Sun Long, staying patient in the middle part of the race. You know, he wasn't in a good position sitting in fourth, but he didn't force anything. Now, yeah, sure, you could argue that the door opened up with him in front of him there with that bit of contact between Kim and Speckenhauser, but he had both the wherewithal to go through that door, but also the speed to take advantage of it too. And so it's really attentive racing by the Chinese skater.
Yeah, it's so difficult to do, and I think it's kind of more those veteran skaters that have that awareness to be patient and not make, you know, a move out of just fear of losing their qualification spot. It just stays calm throughout that race. And you're kind of reading the field in front of you and the body language of the skaters and what they're doing, what moves they might be looking to set up. And you just have to be ready at an instant to go for that opening.
These are the last couple races of the morning session. We'll break for lunch after this, and then resume with the women's 500-meter heats, getting into the men's relay as well.
Well, while we're going through this ice repair, Liu Xiaowang, you know, tremendous kind of comeback this season over last, and you know, he's a skater with, you know, very well decorated, incredible Olympic athlete. You know, kind of maybe is he picking and choosing, and we know we're all just kind of, you know, making assumptions here, but you know, in a 4-year quad, as you become more experienced and you've had a longer career, you know, you kind of start to look at a longer horizon of a 4 years and saying, okay, this is where I can really, you know, attack this season. And kind of wondering, you know, you had that transition obviously from Hungary to China, you know, maybe just kind of striking the moment right, kind of, you know, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think of it as sometimes, and I don't know what he's chosen to do, but you think of like what Choi Min-jong did the other year. She took a year, she stepped away to sort of retool herself, set her technique, do some different things. It's a long season, right? And you're racing a lot and you're grinding away, and you might not have time to work on some of the little things that you want to do. So when you are an accomplished skater like that, and you have the palmarès that a Liu Xiaowang does, or a Choi Min-jong, you know, you can maybe take a little bit of time like that to set yourself back up and make sure that your body is totally ready to attack an Olympic year, but also that your technique, your tactics, and all those types of things are really refined. Maybe you need to change something fundamental that you notice is no longer working when the sport's evolving as fast as it is. So, you know, maybe he's timed it perfectly. Yeah,
and we know Kim Bhutan's another skater who kind of took that approach to this quad as well, and really coming into form this year as well, again on the Olympic season.
To the start. Ready.
Just mentioned that he was bronze a week ago in this distance. Toon Boer and Furkan Akar. And Oleg Konde, we talk about him liking to push it, and he's pushing it right now.
Well, it's a big effort to get around to the front there. You can see now the pace relax a little bit once he's completed that outside pass. But so often somebody else will take advantage of that pace slowing to put down their attack. But Stephen Dubois getting blocked there on the inside lane.
Big orange wall in front of him. Toon Boer, one of the taller guys
for Stephen Dubois
in the field. He's the tallest in this field anyway.
Dubois, the reigning 1,000-meter world champion, and Liu Xiaowang winning the bronze medal in this distance last weekend. Two strong skaters in this sixth.
Well, we talked about that explosive power of Rim Jong-un, and Stephen Dubois is certainly another skater who takes advantage of that little bit of contact there between Toon Boer and Olahande. And now he's setting, a slip there. I think he wanted the inside pass, but ice just broke out on him a little bit.
Now the train goes. Dubois goes. Liu tried to follow. Now Liu does follow. As Dubois comes into the ascendancy at the right moment, and he will carry this one over the line. There is a review, however.
Liu Xiaowang unofficially moving on to the quarterfinal round.
saw Stephen Dubois, as you mentioned, Michael, that looking to set up that inside pass on Toon Board there, but losing the footing and then just kind of taking a moment to breathe there, reset, and then strike again on the following lap. But sometimes we see skaters that are maybe out of desperation trying to make that pass, and even despite slipping, trying to continue through with it, and that's when they find themselves in trouble.
And Steven did a good job there, as we see the replay, like you said, just pulling the chute, trusting his skating, trusting his instinct, really, and then knowing that he has the strength to come through at the later stages of the race, taking that pass. That's an easy up for him, and then just carrying around the outside here as Toon Board starts to tie up. You can see in his body language that the legs were starting to hurt a little bit there. And Liu Xiaoang doing the same thing, really. Just patrolling at the back, looking for those opportunities, showing that veteran savvy that we know he has.
Kind of looked like Liu Xiaoang just kind of pegged, wanted to sit in behind Stephen Dubois and watch as he worked his way through and just follows suit with everything that he was doing there.
Yeah, nothing came from that review, so as you like it there, Dubois and Liu 1 and 2, Toon Board the 126.449, not quick enough. Heat number 7 has another Canadian Ice Maple. Felix Roussel, Michał Niewinski of the Polish Hussars, Rainis Berzins, Latvian Golden Star, Watanabe Keita, Japanese Ninjas, and Ward Petre of the Belgian Ice Bears.
Go to the start. Ready.
Back three have already done 1,000 today.
Well, as you mentioned that, Gavin, there's sometimes a little bit of an advantage to that. Obviously, they're the lower-ranked skaters, but you get a little bit of those jitters out. You get a little bit of lactic in the legs, and that can sometimes get you to a point where you're a little more warmed up, a little more aware as well with your tactics. And that hopefully for the spectator will make for a more exciting race.
Yeah, you've already touched the ice. You got a bit of a feel for it. Something that's changed in short. We used to have on-ice warm-ups to start the day to get a touch on the ice, but the schedule is so full. They've done away with those. So your first race is your first time skating on the ice that day.
And feel is so important, and the ice conditions are always a little bit fluid, so it really makes it a little bit of an advantage.
There was a nice move from Felix Roussel. We kind of talked about earlier the ability to kind of tuck into gaps and create space, and Felix Roussel doing just that on that previous move.
Roussel for the lead, Watanabe scrapping to hang on to second, but Berzins up the inside.
That was a nice jump from Berzins.
Down he goes, but there's one to go. Roussel, Berzins now up into second. Niewinski trying to battle back, but it will be Roussel and Berzins 1 and 2. Niewinski a 125.74.
This was a quick race. We're gonna wait for the official, because right now Brendan Corey's a 125.71 for that third place time.
You know, it's updated. It still says 125.729. I think that might have.
Yep.
That's how it ticks down. So it looks like Corey's just hanging on.
One of the things that's a little bit deceptive for Felix Roussel, he's a very tall athlete. He's one of the taller athletes on the circuit, but he's able to turn over his feet quite quickly. You see here a couple of quick steps and he's by. And for a taller, longer-legged athlete, that's not always the easiest thing. He also has longer blades than most of the skaters out there, so he's got to make sure that he's not clicking those. One of his good skills that he has in his pocket, he uses that very well on his corner exits and then carries his speed well through the straightaway. And that's why often we see Felix Roussel too. Some of the faster races, I think last weekend we saw him in the 1500. He had a quite quick, maybe 2:11 if I'm remembering quickly, but he's often in races that are very quick. And I think part of that is his ability to carry speed in the straightaway.
They are looking at an incident that Watanabe went down. It is a possible lane change from outside to in on Michał Niewinski. That would affect his third place. But as we've noted,
right there.
Yeah. As we've noticed, it's still outside the time, but the penalty would, of course, affect repechage and all that. And
for Niewinski, that's just one of those situations where you're starting to get tired at the end of the race. You're on the outside, and you just cheat a little bit.
You want to go the shorter distance.
You squeeze just a bit to cut that distance down, but that causes the contact, and it's so hard to maintain your radius when the legs are starting to tie up and you can see where you want to be in a race. You can see the position that you wished you had.
Trying to force it in.
They were side by side. Always a smile and a wave from Michał Nowinski, one of the nicer guys you'll see on the circuit. But we'll see what the ruling is. They were almost shoulder to shoulder coming around there. It's always the who's in front level. We'll see what it's up to them to sort that out.
Kind of cycling back to the comment on Felix Roussel being a taller skater, very much like William Danjanu, and you know, it's tough for me because that was my big excuse that I was too big for short track, and they really thrown that well out the window, being that they're probably a good 2 to 3 inches taller than I am. And you know, when we were skating, it was, you know, Yoongi Kwok, you know, Lee Ho Suk, you know, On Hin Soo, Victor On, like these skaters that were a little bit smaller. You know, they were lower center of gravity. They could fit into those smaller spaces, but it really seems to be changing a little bit where a lot of these bigger skaters, Tun Boer, we see Kai Hausman, Stan de Smet, like there's a lot of bigger skaters now on the short track scene.
Final decision, penalty number 11 from Poland.
So it's Michał Nowinski penalized and no advancement. It was not in one of the advancing positions. So that bumps Ward Pitre up to third at 125.884, and still that third place time is not enough. So there it is, outside to in is the ruling. Final race of the morning. See if the Heat 7 results now official. Heat 8 has Dan Koss, Niall Tracy, Clayton DiClemente, Liu Shucheng, and Lucas Wareham. And it's a couple of guys who love to get it to the front.
Go to the story. Ready.
We're on to the last race before the lunch break. Dernière course avant pause pour le dîner. 5 patineurs, portant le 20.
Niall Tracy not wasting a moment there, getting out ahead of Dan Koss, who's been putting in work from the front the past 2 weekends on the World Tour.
This is definitely one of the quicker starts of these heats that we've seen so far. He's already in the mid-9s.
Got used to seeing Koss on the front.
Well, there's a lot of battling.
Race he was in.
Tracy and Dan Koss kind of going back and forth. Watching Clayton DiClemente just staying very relaxed in position number 3, allowing those two to battle it out ahead of him, trying to conserve some energy for the finish.
4 laps to go.
And again, we're talking about body language, right? Looking at Clayton DiClemente, they're very relaxed in position number 3, arms on the back. You can start to see Dan Koss, Niall Tracy getting that hand down, working a little bit harder out front.
And it's been a couple of laps too that Dan Koss has really been pulling some very tight exits.
Yes.
And that starts to tax the legs too in the later stage of the race, although of course it keeps the door closed, which he's doing a good job with the defense here.
But you've got to go on the outside, you're going to get around him, and Clayton DiClemente doing that right now.
All the way around to the lead, and just in time he will take it ahead of Dan Koss, and a 125.87 for Niall Tracy. And it will be just a hair behind Brendan Corey's time. And so he will be going through to the repechage just a little bit, just about a 1/10 of a second slower than Corey's third place time.
This is a nice inside move here by Dan Koss. Then he really sets up camp at the front. Very consistent track pattern. See his exits here quite tight, makes it challenging, but Clayton DiClemente doing a really good job of recognizing that that track pattern was continuing to be quite consistent, and then doing a good job of carrying his speed around the outside, making sure he doesn't get his arm into the skates of Niall Tracy or Dan Koss as he goes by. And yeah, nice little fist bump, well deserved, I would say. Those are the ones that feel good. You love that in that last lap when you come through on the outside.
Beating a couple really strong guys in this distance. That wraps up the morning. Michael, thanks again for joining us.
Anytime, happy to be here.
I believe you are here for the rest of the day, and then you're off on your commentary duty this weekend for our Canadian audience. Mike will be one of the voices you'll hear this winter on CBC Sports. But that wraps up the morning session, resuming at about 1:15 local time, so just under about an hour and 20 minutes from now. Grab a bite to eat. See you soon on the other side.